All right, fam. Peace. What it do? It's your man Mark Black. You know what time it is. You turn off the number for now. We're not taking no calls just yet. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Sucka-Free Saturday. We are about to get it in today. Before we get started, fam, as per usual, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit the thumbs, like or hate. I don't care. Express your opinion, right? Make sure you share this on your social media. We want to get more people watching, and I can't do that by myself, fam. I need y'all to help with that. So if you haven't shared this across your social media platforms, please make sure you do so. And also, if you haven't become an angry black sheep yet, join the herd, right? What you waiting on? I know you're watching, right? So make sure you join the herd and check us out. Also, fam, there are links in the description field of every video with links to resources, all sorts of things. There's also links there to help support my work. If you think what I do is important, it hits home, it means something to you, show your love and support it, right? You can do that via the super chat. You can join my Patreon. I recommend that. Just $5 a month, one time, helps a brother eat sometime this month, because you know I likes to eat, right? So at any rate, let me go ahead and greet everybody. Darker Visions is out and about. Be safe out there, fam, and welcome to the broadcast. Sister Toolbox is in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. Brother C, Double C is in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. Black Man 903, what it do, fam? I see you, right? Brother Tazabah, shalom to you, fam, and welcome to the broadcast. Sister Alexis is in the house. Unsunken One is definitely in the house. Brother Clarence is in the house. Namaste to John Anderson. John Anderson's in the house. Adric is in the house. Welcome, fam. So today's broadcast, fam, is going to be, I won't say lightweight, but it's going to be a bit of a departure from what we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of discussing things about politics. Sister Joyce is definitely in the house. Welcome to the broadcast, sis. As you know, with all the political stuff that's been happening, people have been wilding out, and rightfully so. There's been a lot of crazy-ish going on. By the way, fam, did I call it or did I call it? Right? Elizabeth Warren drops out, and what does she do? She goes on Maddow, and the first thing she starts doing is throwing shade at the Bernie bros. Right? Come on, fam. I told you. She's the last dagger in the back, right? Everybody thought that Trump was the target of the DNC. After last election, Bernard Sanders has been public enemy number one for the DNC, hands down. And you'll see it play out, fam. You'll see it play out. So no surprises, fam. Just pay attention, right? We got to watch and be mindful. Right? We got to pay attention to what isn't necessarily being said, right? Listen to what is not being said. But at any rate, fam, enough about that political shit. I want to talk about something that you would think is so basic that we wouldn't need to have a discussion on it. But what I've learned, fam, is that the more basic a thing is, the more foundational a principle things are, the more discussion is required, right? So with that, we're going to talk about today collective or community. Thank you, Taj. It was Miss Denny that actually picked out that music, and I love it. I actually thought about switching it up for some Byzantine chant, but I just remembered that my audience probably doesn't understand much Greek. And although it's beautiful music, they wouldn't get it, right? So, but yeah, I love it. It sets the tone, that meditative tone to kind of open you up to get you ready for the discussion, right? So I definitely love that beginning music. We're going to talk about collective or community, because I think that we conflate a lot of terms, right? Miss Kawami, by the way, is in the house. My beloved sister, peace to you and welcome to the broadcast. A lot of times you hear discussion about various issues that affect us, whether they affect us positively or negatively. And you'll hear people talking about the Black community. By the way, peace and shout out to DJ Blue DJ Blue is in the house. Welcome to the broadcast. And they repeat this term over and over and over and over again. The black community, the black community, the black community. But here's the thing, fam. I'm going to go out on a limb here, right? And I'm going to say that words have meanings. Okay? That words actually mean something when you say them. So one of the things that I stress in my advocacy, in my discussions, in my everyday life, is that whenever you're communicating with someone, the very first rule that you need to operate under is that you need to define the terms. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's very simple, fam. You need to make sure that when words are being used, when terms are being used, that you're speaking the same language. Shout out to B-Man 120, by the way. Peace and Black Power, fam. Welcome to the broadcast. When people say words in our language that correspond to concepts, it is key, fam, to make people define the terms. I'll give you a case in point. Love, right? Now, you hear the word, and love has a meaning to you, right? It has a series of connotations. However, a lot of the time, the mistake that we make, fam, is that we believe that our definition of these concepts is also shared by others. We assume that because we're saying the same words, that we're saying the same thing. And that very often, fam, is not the case, especially when you're talking about concepts. Love, hate, so on and so forth, right? Well, community and collective are also concepts. So it makes sense that when someone says these things to you, when they talk about the black community, make them define what it is that you're referring to. Because both community and collective have meanings. So before I even continue this process, fam, we're going to look at the definitions of the meanings, right? Give me just a second here. Here we go. Let's look at definition of community. A community is defined by Merriam-Webster as a unified body of individuals, such as a body of persons or nations having a common history or common social, economic, and political interests, right? When we talk about community, most people are referring to this. They're saying that the black group in this country is a unified body of individuals that share a common history and have common social, economic, and political interests. Fair enough? I mean, would you guys agree with me? Hit a 1 in the chat if you agree with me that this is a workable, reasonable definition for the term community. Now, while I wait for y'all to do that, let me also now here go then to the definition of collective, right? A collective is defined as denoting a number of persons or things considered as one group or whole. Let me break that down for you, fam. What the definition is saying is that collective is an adjective that describes the nature of a number or a set, right, in number of persons or things that is considered to be a group. You follow me? Now, when I talk about our people, I talk about us as a collective. And I do that specifically What up, Stakes? I see you, fam. Welcome to the broadcast and peace to you. I like that, by the way, Alexis. Definition frames discussion. Absolutely. I use the term the Black collective. And there's a specific reason why I use that term. If you look at the definitions of both collective as well as community, it becomes immediately apparent to anyone who looks that while we are considered a collective, right? We are a set of individuals defined as a group. One could argue whether or not we're actually a community. One could make a strong argument. Thank you, Lebra, and I appreciate you becoming a member of the herd. One could make a strong argument, fam, that we are not a community. And I need for us to be clear about this, right? I'm not making a value judgment as of yet. I'm only simply defining the terms, framing the discussion. Community or collective? When you look at the differences in the two words, one thing actually becomes apparent right from the word say go. And that is that one definition allows for autonomy, for liberation, and one definition does not. A collective can be defined by someone else, right? When you are out and about, right? When you're mobile, when you're going up and down the street and you bear melanin, okay? And people who lack melanin see you, right? Pale folk, white folks, buckra, whatever you want to call them. It's rare that they can accurately make the distinction between one bearer of melanin and another one. And so in their minds, anybody who possesses more than N amount of melanin is defined as Black and thus is assigned to the Black collective. But that's an external, imposed identification. And it's rife with opportunity for degradation, for misidentification, for co-optation, and so on and so forth. Because under the definition in which America operates when it comes to us, somebody who was the upper crust in Nigeria can come over here as the possessor of melanin and be immediately assigned identification as us with all of the concomitant negatives and benefits in our current day that comes with that, right? Now, we, of course, hear from these people all the time the various negatives that come with being identified as a part of the Black collective, right? They complain they can't get cabs, and some of them get attacked and hurt and injured or killed by the police, and so on and so forth, right? But they never talk about the benefits they gain from that identification. And for example, there are programs and different things that are set up that were initially designed to benefit the people that share the lineage of the descendants of the enslaved here in the United States. But as a possessor of melanin, being identified as a part of the Black collective, you who do not share that heritage, do not share that history, that lineage at all, can then take advantage of those spots, those spaces, those opportunities. Part of the reason why groups like ADOS have really gained traction is because we've started to wake up and see that this identification with a flattened blackness, this amorphous blackness, is another form of erasure for us. We have started to see that people who have no cognizance whatsoever of our heritage, of our lineage, of our history, of our unique position in this country are able to just walk right the fuck on in and take advantage of stuff that we've paid the blood price for. Simply because of their assignation, their assignment to this Black collective. The reason why it is important, by the way, shout out to Brother James and Brother Art. Welcome to the broadcast and peace to both of you. The reason why it's important for us to have this discussion, fam, is because there is an actual benefit, a difference in being a part of a community and simply either assigning oneself to or being, even worse, assigned outside of yourself to a particular collective. In Soviet Russia, one of the first things that the Soviets did when they took over power in Russia was that they collectivized as much as they possibly could. They collectivized what little industry Russia had at the time. They collectivized agriculture. They collectivized everything. The problem with collectivization, though, at least the problem we now see with collectivization, is that collectivization simply means assignation, a numerical assignation as a part of a group. It indicates nothing about the ties that bind one to that group. So random Russians were assigned to various agricultural collectives, industrial collectives, worker collectives, labor collectives. But because they had no ties to the other individuals in that collective, then when it came time to provide work, by the way, shout out to Courtney, by the way, welcome to the broadcast. When it came time to perform work, these individuals said, you know what, I'm just going to do the barest minimum. Right? I mean, I don't really know these fools like that. I'm not really that connected to them. I'm not related to them. I mean, we're both Russian, but that and 50 cents won't buy you a cup of borscht. By the way, salute to Menace Aptara. Welcome to the broadcast, fam. So instead of Marxist principle, from each according to their ability to each according to their need, being a standard that they were willing to adhere to, it became a matter of how little can I give and still get what I need? Which makes sense. If you're just thrown together with a lot of motherfuckers that you don't really know much about, that you don't really fuck with, that you don't really care about, and so on and so forth, it makes sense to hold back the best of what you are, to hold back your most intense labor, your best brain sweat. Why would you put that forward just to benefit an amorphous group of people you really don't have any ties or connections to? And see, family, this is the danger that we, as the descendants of the enslaved here in the United States, find ourselves in. Not just politically, not just economically, but across the board. Because we are assigned to be a part of the Black collective. But we have failed to grasp the bonds, to make the ties and the connections, to understand our common history, our common social, economic, and political interests to the point where our best efforts can be elicited on behalf of one another. Simply put, we're like the Russians in Soviet Russia. We're only Black because America says we are. We niggas because that's what they tell us we are. Nothing more, nothing less. And that is a danger to us. Let me explain to you, fam, why this understanding is so dangerous to us. Because as a member of a collective, lacking the ties that bind you to other members of the collective, you're not going to tend to operate thinking about your group interests. You're just simply a group of individual units brought together and assigned a group designation. However, those who have assigned you to that group designation are operating in their collective and their community interests. Say what you will about white supremacists, and trust me, there's much to say. But white supremacists will put aside religion. White supremacists will put aside sexual preferences and gender identification. White supremacists will put aside socioeconomic class. White supremacists will put aside all of it to maintain their domination over everything and everybody. They make up Irish, Scottish, English, French, German. They make up Presbyterian, Lutheran, evangelical, Catholic, right? They make up gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, pansexual. They make up dirt fucking poor, three-tooth having cousin fucking shit kickers to upper old money, upper crust. These are a people, fam, that will have riots over hockey games, over football games, soccer games. In all things, they differ. But when it comes to their common history, when it comes to their common social, political, and economic interests, all of that shit is pushed to the side to maintain community. Our identification as a part of an amorphous Black collective disempowers us as a group, and it makes it possible for each of us to be attacked individually, in groups, neighborhoods, so on and so forth. You see the evidence of it every day. By the way, shout out to my beloved sister Sherry. Welcome. We've missed you too. That's the danger, fam. The danger is although we're treated as if we're a collective, right? That we're a group of individuals. Because we lack community, we remain a group of individuals. I was a big fan of Game of Thrones. And Sansa Stark from House Stark said that When winter comes, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. As a collective, fam, we are vulnerable to every single effort that white supremacy lays down, from the simplest to the most complex. And it's not because they're smarter than us. It sure in the hell isn't because they're smarter than us. Like James Keel said, Chris Rock said that a black man with a C average can't sweep a damn floor. But a white man with a C average can become president of the United States. Because they operate as a community with common political, social, and economic interests. And we don't. I learned a long time ago, family, in my explorations of the issues that plague us as a people, that the biggest problem that I've been able to see is that we are not a people. I know that sounds crazy, right? Like, you're like, Brother Black, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course we're a people. No, we're not. No, we're not. You usually can't get two black people to agree on what to order from Pizza Hut, let alone accept that you or I might actually have common political, social, and economic interests that it would behoove us to create ties that bind in order for us to advance, to forward our interests together, communally, not collectively, communally. Menace Aptara said, how would the white race continue to exist if they did not have the white racist mindset? Facts, right? Like, they understand that it is in their best interest to act communally when it comes to maintaining whiteness. They don't need to be told this over and over and over and over again. It is inherent in how they move. When you look at white supremacy kind of reminds you of the relationship that most of us as black folk have with our extended family, right? I got cousins and shit, that some of which I couldn't stand coming up. We used to fight like cats and dogs. Shout out to King Doty. He used to whoop my ass all the time. Right? But let someone else who wasn't us come up and approach one of us, looking to do us harm, to throw hands with us. Let somebody walk up on me while King Doty was standing there and see what happened. Me and Doty could have just been scrapping. Okay, scratch that. Doty could have just been kicking my ass because that boy had the coldest hands. May he rest. So Doty could have just been kicking my ass. But let somebody else walk up and think they're going to kick my ass too. Nope. Doty gonna turn around and proceed to put them hands on whoever it was that just walked up. Why? Because Doty and I, for all the beefs we may have had, we are family. We have a tie that binds us, that brings us together communally, that no matter how much warfare internally we might have, Dodie, I told you stop playing with my damn Star Wars figures. Nigga, fuck you. You was playing with my football. No matter the beef. Anybody else come up and try to hurt one of us, and it was instant. There was no discussion needed. Do you understand me? That's how our historic and current oppressors operate. They operate under different names. They have different fights. One will call himself a Republican. The other one will call himself a Democrat. And they'll be going at it, calling each other names, dragging each other's reputation through the mud, the whole 9 yards. But let us poor darkies step up with our justice claim and watch the door shut. Or did you forget that all of the oppression that's been visited upon us by the United States government has all been bipartisan? They call themselves different religions. One's Catholic, one evangelical. And they'll beef like you would not believe. Those filthy papists sucking the woo-woo of the Pope. But let us develop theologies of liberation that help benefit us and watch the doors close. For the maintenance of their collective, their communal interests. Thank you, DJ Blue. You will never hear the Dems or the Repubs ever fight about ending white supremacy. Nope, they're all on the same team, fam. They're all in the same gang. They could have just been beefing yesterday, going back and forth at it. But let you come up with your justice claim. Let you speak up on behalf of your ancestry. White folks be on the job, arguing with each other, backstabbing each other, cutthroating each other, till you want a promotion, till you want to get ahead. Watch the door shut. And you don't have to tell them to do this. You don't have to have video after video after video talking about we need to come together, we need to come together, we need to come together. The fact that we have to do that lets you know we don't have a community. I'm just gonna come out and fucking say it, fam. The fact that we constantly have to have this discussion tells you everything that you need to know about whether or not we are a collective or we are a community. Because when people operate as a community, it is evident. It is absolutely evident. Shout out to my beloved sister Toolbox. I really appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate you. That's why I say what I say and I do what I do. So fam, when next?
Appreciate your work, Brother Black.
When next you watch a video, or you in the community, or I should say the neighborhood, and somebody's talking at you, yam, 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 the black community, yam, 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 the black community, you already know they don't understand the dynamic. You already know that whatever they're about to say next, they're talking out of their ass. Because if they really understood what and who we were, they would understand that we don't have a community. We have no communal anything. You ever notice, fam, especially among these white liberal adjacent butter biscuit chasing bootlicks, that they're the first ones to jump up and shout, black people ain't a monolith? Especially when you're talking about some sort of social aspect, like, you know, kinky shit like BDSM or liking music or whatever the case may be. These white liberal adjacent black folk will be the first ones to tell you that black people are not a monolith. We ain't all the same. Why you trying to put me with them niggas? That right there lets you know, fam, that we're operating as a collective in the United States, not a community. Because no other group that actually has community among itself, no other group ever makes it an effort to distance itself. They'll highlight their various issues, right? Protestants and Catholics will highlight the issues they have with the other theology, right? Gay and straight will identify the issues with the other sexual expression. But you won't see them ever say, nah, I ain't with this white supremacy shit. Unless they're about to run game on you. We go out of our way to identify as anything but the descendants of the enslaved in the United States of America. So, fam, one thing that you'll learn, if you haven't already, as a member of the herd of angry black sheep, is that we don't do problem discussions over here. We do solution discussions. We've seen the obvious benefits of operating as a collective. By the way, shout out to Sister Sherry. Don't worry, fam. I'm going to go through the comments here and we're going to address some things. I see what's going on in the chat and I want to talk to y'all. We're going to have us a good conversation today. Matter of fact, before I get into the next part, let's do this, because I saw Sister Sherry said she's tired. I saw what happened with Kofi Chiang-Mai. The only thing I can say, Alexis, is that once a group of people identify more with an ideology than with people, you're always going to see that type of shit. That's just fact, right? When ideology takes the place of people, why expect humanity? Why expect grace? Like, shout out to my brother Big Unk, by the way. I see you, fam. And shout out to Soul. Welcome to the broadcast. Sister Jacqueline, I didn't greet you either. Welcome to the broadcast. Let's talk about that a little bit. You see, fam, one of the benefits of community, of having communal ties with one another, is that all things being equal in any given situation, you're likely to extend grace, unearned favor, if you will, to the individual or individuals that you have the tie with. In other words, I can laugh about the fact that my cousin Dodie used to kick my ass on the regular. Why? Because that's my cousin Dodie. That's all you need to know. Did I like him beating me up? No. Although he did help me get cold with these hands, right? But my cousin Dodie is my cousin Dodie. He gets a pass. Why? Because he's Doty. That's all you need to know. If we truly operated as a community, we could have arguments with each other. We could throw hands. We can have beefs. But grace, unearned favor, will be first and foremost on the table. You wouldn't see us looking to distance ourselves so quickly from other people who share what it is that we're supposed to share. If we're really supposed to be part of this Black community, then can't nobody just come in and say any old thing to us or do any old thing to us, regardless of the beefs, the crazy shit we might have going on. The moment that there's an external threat, the moment that there is a problem with someone else, watch the door shut and watch grace be delivered up on silver platters to everybody. You know what, fam? Fuck that beef and shit. We got business to handle. That's how you know we don't have community. Right? You got people that will go out here and argue for you, fight for you. And they the first motherfuckers canceled. You don't believe me? Super Tuesday, like I said in my last broadcast, fam, I hate to go back to politics, but it's apropos in this particular circumstance. Super Tuesday exposed a lot of narratives. It took a whole bunch of people's ideas of what they thought was the reality of shit. And it said, nope, this is the reality right here. Deal with it. So what you end up having happen for people who have an interest in that space, in that place, right, in the political sphere, is you had Black people, right, people who are part of our heritage group, our ethnic group, our lineage, who rather than understanding what occurred and taking that information, that data into account to formulate different strategies, different tactics for altering or adjusting the situation, for reformulating, right, for refocusing, even rebranding if need be, they initiated what essentially amounts to an inter-ethnic pogrom on our own people. Now, the only way that that could happen, I would argue, fam, the only way that that's possible is that we are not a community. That we're an agglutinative, right? Accumulative, randomly assigned association number of individuals and assign the label of Black. That's the only way that can happen. It's the only way. You can't explain a group of so-called Black folk organizing essentially into a generational pogrom against the boomers, older Xers, so on and so forth. Anybody who didn't vote the way they thought that they should vote, anybody who didn't, operate Super Tuesday the way they thought it should operate is a race traitor, a collaborator, a sellout, low IQ, low information, member of the 2/3, that whole 2/3 of people are just gonna die, right? There was no grace extended. There was no, hey, I fucked up. As an advocate, I didn't understand how to reach them with this message, this tie, that bind. I need to reformulate. I need to figure this out. We didn't do that. Stakes is high is right. Say what you will about Biden, but Biden knows how to build relationships. He's charismatic. Biden is a devil most of us know. Especially now that he's experiencing something resembling dementia or senility or some shit. But you got black people who are saying that other black people are just throwaways. Fuck them. Let them die. Good riddance to those old bastards. Don't trust them old niggas. Community, fam, stretches beyond anything you can possibly imagine. And community is the only weapon in our fight against white supremacy that we haven't used. We have been assigned as a collective since we got here. Remember, when our ancestors got here, they weren't niggas. They were Mende. They were Senegambian. They were Dalman, Fawn, right? They were Yoruba or whatever else they were. They were members of disparate ethnic groups in Africa. And on the killing fields and the forge, the crucible of the plantation, classified as black, as niggas. By the way, peace and blessings to Kefra. I see you. But here's the problem. We've never embraced that reality. We've never embraced that truth. We've never embraced the fact that we, for lack of a better way to say it, have communal interests that require us to come together with ties that bind and allow us to operate. And the question on everybody's mind is, how do we do that? Well, lucky enough, today in 2020, we actually have the answer. And it's so simple of an answer that you should be telling every single person around you the answer. I'm going to give it to you for free. But it's so simple that the vast majority of us ain't ready to hear it yet. Because it has to be more, creating community has to be more difficult than this, what I'm about to tell you. The key to creating community is to finally grasp hold of the narrative of what we actually are. It's not to dismiss slavery. Shout out to Engaging Black and shout out to Carmen, To Life, To Love, Natural. The answer is right there in front of our face. Our ancestors were the enslaved. We are their descendants. We are a completely new ethnic group, forged in the crucible of America on the killing fields of the plantations, in the graveyards of the mines. And that is all I need to know about you. Oh, did you catch it, fam? Did you catch it? Pop a one in the chat if you just got it. If what I just said unlocked the door, right? Was that the key that unlocked the door for you? Pop a one in chat. Did you just catch it? Remember when I was telling you about Dodie? Dodie beat the hell out of me. But it didn't matter. Why? Because he was Dodie. He was my cousin. That's all I needed to know. Are you getting it, fam? Is it finally starting to sink in? Is this little simple ass, basic ass truth that should be apprehendable by even the youngest among us? Is it finally starting to sink in for you? That whole narrative about where we come from, who we descend from, who we hail from. That's the key to community. Shit, man, that motherfucking toolbox get on my nerves. Yeah, she gets on my nerves too. Wait a minute, white man. That's my sister you talking about. What the fuck is wrong with you? Well, what do you mean? You just said she gets on your nerves, but she's my sister. We hail from the same forebears. We share the same lineage, motherfucker. You don't get to say shit on her. Why? Because she's with me. That's all you need to know. The answer, family, has been right there in front of our face the whole damn time. We've been trying our best to run away from the reality of the fact of who and what we are. We are the descendants of the enslaved ones here in the United States of America. Full fucking stop, with everything that comes with that. And unlike many of you, I no longer run from that truth. I embrace it wholeheartedly. It is going to be the saving grace of our people. It is going to be the tie that creates community. It ain't going to be no particular religion. It ain't going to be no particular set of principles or preferences. No. A simple embracing of the truth. And the truth is that you are the living evidence of the greatest crime committed on American soil. You are also the living evidence of the multi-generational justice claim that was owed to our ancestors and now to us when we speak with their voice and in their stead. You know, fam, what's really funny is that the moment we actually embrace our unique history, our unique heritage, our unique lineage as a people in this country, that will be the moment that we become unstoppable. You don't fucking believe me now, but I'm telling you, fam, trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I tell you. The moment we do that, the moment we stop trying to run away from the narrative, the moment we stop trying to hide from that story, to tell the truth and claim it boldly, proudly, that we descend from the enslaved ones, and let the grace that flows from that natural connection flow from one of us to the other one, all the rest of what it is that we're trying to accomplish here in the United States of America will simply be a mop-up operation. I promise you. The answer has been there in front of our face the whole time. Anybody who comes to you, fam, and they're not asking you to accept your story, accept your history. It doesn't matter what else they're talking about. They're talking about more collective bullshit. And as soon as the stick of white supremacy comes down, guess what's going to happen to the collective? Like always, we're going to break apart. We are going to atomize. Because as a collective, we're just a conglomerate of individuals, just a set of in number of niggas. But by embracing the narrative truth of our history, look at all that we gain from just doing that. Let's break it down real quick before I open up the lines, fam. Let's break that down real quick. Mark Black is asking you to stop running away from the so-called slave shit. Okay? Your ancestry and my ancestry, if we share the same history, we descend from enslaved ones. Not slaves, the enslaved ones. Okay? Let's look at what we gain by embracing that understanding. When we accept wholeheartedly, without reservation, no holding back, who our forebears are, that right there tells us exactly what our common economic interests are. Just like my forebears were, your forebears were economically disenfranchised. They were chattel property for 246 years. They were denied agency and the opportunity to amass wealth. They were actually counted as wealth to many Americans, thus benefiting and generating this country that we live in today. And when you understand that, then no one has to tell you what our common economic interests are. Our common economic interest is to go and fight for that stolen wealth that was taken from us. We don't even have to talk about it. We don't have to do no videos about it. We don't have to have long, drawn-out meetings and discussions about it. Once you accept that we are the children of the enslaved ones, your economic interests, your common economic interests already become a thing. And what is that a part of the definition of? Community. When you accept wholeheartedly, without reservation, the narrative story of who we descend from, your common political interests become perfectly clear. Anything politically that doesn't put us in a position to capitalize on our economic interests and all of our other interests ain't worth even pass. It ain't worth nothing. It's not worth hearing any discussion about. It makes political advocacy simple. What else do we gain by embracing that story, that narrative, that truth? Because it's not a made-up story. We are the descendants of the enslaved ones. So another thing that we gain when we embrace that truth is we understand that in a real sense, we are all related. Just like me and Dodie. We family. So while you and I might have beef, we might have differences, the very moment that anybody who is not us comes out, grace ensues between you and I, and fire, shade, and smoke goes towards them. And you don't have to tell us to do it. We don't have to have 2-hour video after 2-hour video talking about the community. It will be automatic. The answer to everybody's question is right there. Accept the truth of who and what we are. I don't give a fuck what anybody else is. I don't really care about the history of Jamaica. I don't much care about the history of Haiti. I mean, I care about it in an intellectual sense, but I'm not like married to their history. They're not me. They're not mine. They're not my family. You're my family. When I grasp your hands and we touch hands together, you can feel the tie that binds between us. It's a whole different vibe. Fam, haven't you ever noticed your soul could be troubled? Like you could have had a shitty ass day at work. Fucking with all these no good ass bucker at your job. And you get off and the first thing you want to do is go find your people. Go find some black people to be around. You don't care what they doing. You just want to be in their presence. You just want to bask in their energy. There's a reason why that is. It's because we are a people. We're only a collective because we choose to continue to be one. The moment we claim our narrative, the moment we claim our story, we cease being a collective, and we have the basis, the foundations, the underpinnings that will create community between us, that will bring us communal respect for each other, communal grace for each other, and an understanding of our communal interests politically, socially, economic, and so on. Our religious differences won't fucking matter. Our sexual differences won't fucking matter. None of that will fucking matter. We know what the problem is. And now we know what the solution is. Thank you. Y'all feeling me right now. When you see one of us, damn it, when I see one of y'all, it hit different. You know what the fuck I'm talking about, fam. Genetic memory, while it hasn't been proven scientifically, I truly believe is a thing. If you study epigenetics, genetic memory makes sense. There's something that is passed on from generation to generation through the flesh that allows us to understand shit we can't put words to. When I see one of y'all, it hit different. When I talk to one of y'all, it hit different. Shit, we give each other, we dap each other up, give each other a hug. That shit hit different. There's a reason why, fam. There's a reason why. Because we are a people. We are a family. When we embrace that story, that day, we become ready for community. We stop being a collective and we become a community. We become a member of that community, and it starts to bring a healing that we've never seen before. Like Alexis said, it helps to heal the trauma. Everybody talking about we need therapy. No, we don't, fam. I mean, some of us do, right? I'm not dismissing mental health care. Trust me on this one, right? I regularly go see a therapist, okay? Right? So take care of your mental health. But as a collective, as a group, we don't need lineage therapy. What we need is to acknowledge the real ties that we have with each other. Fam, I've got a nigga-shaped hole in my heart that only you can feel. And I've tried to fill it with white acceptance. I've tried to fill it with working hard on my job. I've tried to fill it with religion. I've tried to fill it with booze and drugs, and I can't. I need you. And you need me. And you can continue to run away from me. You can continue to act like you're not a part of me. You can continue to act like I ain't with them niggas. You can continue that. Because it's worked out so well for us, these 400 years. A bunch of individual lone wolves running around. No, not even wolves. Because a wolf will at least take a risk to try to eat. We're a bunch of lone sheep. Have you ever seen a sheep without a herd? Fam, it's the sorriest damn thing you ever saw in your life. A sheep without a herd, fam, is food. For lack of a better way to define it, a sheep without a herd is food. You, without community with me, you are food. You are the primary prey of the white supremacists and the carrion upon which all of the acolytes of white supremacy feed upon? The answer has been staring us right in the face. There's a reason why when we get together, it hit different. There's a reason why when we come together, the whole energy, the whole vibe, everything about it is just lit. Like, damn. Even when we beefing, fam, it's different. I can have a fight with a white man. I'm not going to do a bunch of talking and jaw jacking. I'm just going to knock his ass the fuck out and go on about my merry way. But damn it, a fight with my people is an event. We gonna have it out. I'm gonna cuss you out and you gonna cuss me out. And I'm gonna wag my finger at you and you gonna wag your finger at me. And we gonna do that dance that's been forged in the fires of the plantation. Cause that's our dance. Nigga, fuck you. Nah, nigga, fuck you. That's us. Even our arguments, our beefs with each other is different. There's a reason why. Because that difference you feel is the call to community. That difference you feel is the call to community. You don't have to wait on some program. You don't need to adhere to a particular political understanding. You don't have to be fucking this person or that person. The call to community is in you from your fucking bones to the ends of your hair. All you have to do is just move out of the way of yourself. Just move out of your own damn way and community is waiting for you. That's it. Go into each interaction with your people with grace being at the forefront. I don't have to know you to roll with you. Why? Because you mine. That's all I need to know. You mine and I'm yours. That's all anybody need to know. We're doing all this fighting, this internal back and forth, internecine warfare for what? Picking up the machetes, looking to go on pogroms, calling other black people 2/3 and watching and waiting for them to die for what? You can kill as many of us as you want, and it doesn't erase the tide because it is in your very DNA. It is in the very history of this country. Bricks laid in buildings raised, in crops grown, and forests raised, in water flows and dams. Your ancestors, just like mine, your forebears, just like mine, built this motherfucker. You can't escape that tide no matter how you try. No matter how many boots you try to lick. No matter how much acceptance you get. You can't run from me because I'm in you. There's a hole in your heart that's shaped just like your man Mark Black. And until you slap me in there, you ain't got shit. But guess what? Luckily, there's a hole in your heart that's big enough to fit 40 or so million of your community. Of the people who share the same lineage and heritage as you. And you got room enough in there for all of them. You the savior I've been waiting for. I'm the savior you've been waiting for. You're the healing I've been waiting for. I'm the healing you've been waiting for. You're the family that I've been waiting for. I'm the family you've been waiting for. You get it yet? And nobody should have to tell us this. We shouldn't need lectures. Once we grasp hold of the truth of who and what we are, nobody has to tell us to be a community. We will be one. We won't have it any other way. We won't even be able to help being a community. We have flashes of it, and then just as quickly as they come, they go. No, I'm asking you to consciously, intentionally hold the idea of community in the forefront of your frontal lobe. We no longer have the luxury of living unconsciously. And I'm not talking about that conscious in the sense of pro-black, pro-whack, woke bullshit. No, I mean living with awareness, intentionality, making your life be an action, a verb. The only way you can make your life and my life a verb is through intentional holding and the living of these concepts. You can't talk about community no more. We don't have the luxury of talking about community. We have to live community. Can we do it? I believe we can. I just gave you the tool. I gave it to you for free. It was given to me for free. But I once heard that the hardest thing it is for a human being to do is to accept something that was given freely as a gift. Prove me wrong. (425-296-1980) is the number. Let me open up the phone here. Give me a sec. I want to hear from you. How long have you been thinking erroneously that we were operating as a community when we basically been at best just a numerated collective? How do you feel about that? What's your idea? Do you agree with me that we finally found the key, that we finally found the tool to actually operate in our communal interests? Or Mark Black is just talking out his ass? 425-296-1980, fam, is the number. I want to hear from you. I see your pain, you know? Caller from 909, it's your man Mark Black. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's on your mind?
Yeah, this is Texas. I'm checking in from California.
What's good, fam? I'm glad to hear from you. Talk to me, man. What do you think about what I'm saying today, fam? Does it hit?
It's very accurate, because when you look at the term community and you look at the term community in general, the reason why Black people are so, I guess, willing to just burn bridges, or just kind of willing to just throw every Black person under the bus.
Yep, canceling, burning bridges.
Cancel. You cancel, you this, you that, fuck you, whatever, right? They feel they can go over to this other community, and all you can really do is you can kind of spectate and serve their community, but you would never be a part of any other community. Once you realize that, hey, you know what? I don't like what he says. I may disagree with some of the politics, you know what I mean? Or some of the actions, but
absolutely,
this is all I got over here. I can't go nowhere else. Other groups understand that. They're very well aware that, yeah, I may fuck a Black woman or two, or, smoke some weed with the niggas or whatever, but that's not my community. You know what I'm saying? That's, me having fun, but because we operate from this standpoint of being around white people so long that we're used to just saying, we used to be able to be around them. So back in, Jim Crow era, there was more of a sense of community because that's all you could do.
Everybody tries
to have a choice.
Everybody, see, but here's the crazy part. There was no sense of community then. That's a myth too. I hate when people try to romanticize Jim Crow. It's like when we was forced to rely on each other, you know what I'm saying? We understood that was all we had. No, we didn't. Why do you think that the very first moment that Black folk got a chance to integrate, they broke camp? We didn't have a sense of community then either.
I wouldn't use the term community, but we had a sense of, I guess, neighbor. It was okay. Yeah, that's more of a accurate. It's more of maybe that's an inaccurate word, but it's more of a sense of, okay, I don't have a choice to be with this person. Let me at least try to,
Well, I mean, I agree with you. When you forced to be with others, you know what I'm saying? You try to, you try to minimize. I mean, like everybody tries to make out like black folk is so damn violent, but we've been living on top of each other since we've been here. We've always had to learn ways to kind of minimize conflict and shit like that, right? Plus, we've had to operate in survival mode like Alexis was talking about. So it makes sense to have a rent party for your neighbor, you know what I'm saying, who's struggling to pay the rent this month, right? When you know that next month it might be you, right? So locally, right? And in our little neighborhoods and stuff, we've had ties that bind. Plus, we usually tend to go to the same churches or be a part of the same social circles when we in a particular neighborhood. No, what I'm talking about is bigger than that. What I'm talking about, fam, when I say community, is something that needs to be true, whether I'm going to visit you in Cali, or I'm going to visit my peoples in KC, or I'm going to my peoples in Philly, or I'm going to New York, or wherever. Community is the same no matter where I go, no matter who I'm around. I don't have to know you, right? But if we're a community, there's automatic unearned favor, because that's what grace translates into, fam. It is unearned favor. Grace is saying, you ain't really put in on this, but I got you anyway, right?
And see, and what comes to that is this. The way I look at the community is this. What's going to bind us, I believe, is the agenda and the interest that we have as ADOS or FBA, if you would use. You know what I mean? Because even though we come from different, like you said, we come from different neighborhoods, different socioeconomic status, different sensibilities, we have the agenda and the interest.
The agenda and the interest will not bind us. And we saw that on Super Tuesday. We have an agenda that nobody really pays attention to. We got interests that nobody accepts because they don't see us together as a community. It's a bunch of niggas out here trying to operate as individual selves.
I mean, okay, as far as Super Tuesday goes, okay, the question is this. The people who voted, let's say the people who voted got the way politics that are separate from ours. Do you think that was a constructive action or non-constructive?
I think
that comes down.
That it was reflective, right? I don't have a value judgment on it more than I have a reflection on it. What Super Tuesday taught to me was that for all of the information that we have, for all of the data that we have that suggests that our circumstances and situations and the reality of what we're facing is X, that the narrative, the story that we're telling that corresponds to that data isn't jiving, right? And how I understand that, fam, and I'll run you down my thought process, right? So you can follow along with me, right? The way I came to that understanding was that I came to the realization that data or the information can explain to us why we need to do something, right? Like, for example, if you go outside and you see your car, fam, and you see that you got a flat tire, right? You got a flat tire on the driver's side of your car. That's a information point. That's a data point, right? That flat tire can tell you why you might want to change your flat tire. But what it cannot do is it cannot make you go out there and be motivated to get your ass under that car and change that tire. It can only inform you that you might need to do it. But it can't, it's not what will motivate you. See, we've had this problem for a long time in our community where a bunch of black people will get together and we'll build some shit, right? We'll have a confab, we'll have a build, right? And we will come up with some ideas that are perfectly workable ideas, right? That are great ideas, right? No bullshit. That will be great ideas. And then we will go out and we will tell other people of our heritage group these ideas. Okay? And then when nothing changes, we then say, them niggas stupid. They gonna die. They fuck them, leave them behind. They don't get it. They sleep, right? When we fail to understand that it's never information that drives action. Information doesn't drive action. For human beings, stories, narratives drive action, right? I'll give you another example, fam. If you got a minute.
And that's the media. That's why the media presence is so powerful.
Oh hell yeah! I mean the media, dude.
It's about the narrative presence. It's about the story you can tell. If you tell the story the right way, it doesn't matter if it's true or not.
Exactly.
If you tell the story the right way.
Exactly.
I mean, capture the hearts and minds.
You can get anybody with a good story. You don't believe me? Let me share. I'm gonna share you the bones of a story. These are the facts, right? A man was born. A boy grew up. A boy became a teacher. A boy taught the people. Some of the people liked the boy's teachings. Some of the people didn't like the boy's teachings. The people that didn't like the boy's teachings got angry. The people that didn't like the boy's teachings got him in trouble. The boy was killed. He was executed. The end.
Right.
How do you feel about that story?
I mean, it's sad.
Okay, you feel, but there was nothing there. There was just information. I didn't even give you a name, so you don't know who I'm talking about. I didn't frame the situation, the circumstance. You don't even know what the trouble was. You don't know what the information was that was being taught. All you got was the information. That was facts. Now, you might have a general curiosity. You might say, well, tell me more. Okay? So then I give this person a name, Yeshua or Jesus. Now, mind you, we have connotations that we associate with Jesus in our modern day time. But put yourself back in the day, of somebody back in the early time, right? They may not have necessarily had those connotations. But now let me flesh out the story a little bit more for you. A child was born in a manger under the sign of a holy star. And at the moment of his birth, angels descended from the heavens and sung Hosanna. And you feel me? Now, none of that has to be true. But I'm getting you motivated so that by the time I get to the end of the story and I tell you, and that's why Yeshua is the Son of God, you don't need to hear shit else.
Right.
You don't need to hear nothing else. You're like, I'm good.
It's like, I think when you speak of the narrative, I think a lot of the politics comes from the reason why we do what we do comes from that narrative. Because if I say, hey, you know what? If I tell a story and I make it seem as if our justice claim is something that can actually happen, and I make it seem like, wow, people say, you know what, hey, because, like you said, we do survival politics. So if I pitch this to somebody in a way, let's say I'm pitching this to some South Carolina voters. I'm like, hey, this reparations thing is real. It's not something that's pie in the sky. This is something that can actually get passed. Then the narrative starts to come from, okay, if you actually have a shot at this, then I will vote for such and such candidate.
Absolutely, fam.
If I tell you, reparations, but you don't get that shit passed, I can say that's a great idea.
Or even worse, before anybody is even motivated to try to fight for the justice claim, they're told that their individual efforts don't mean shit.
Exactly. There you go.
Like, how is that narrative going to bring about the motivation to change, right? So like I said in my last broadcast, ADOS has the data, right? They have the information. We know that information is solid about the reality of our circumstances, both historically as well as currently. You dig, right? So they've got the information, okay? But the story that they're telling is this. So because of this information, You trying to better yourself, trying to, work hard to provide for your family, you trying to operate a business establishment and this, that, and
Don't even
another
think about
is
it.
nothing more than
Don't even think about it.
aspirational, bootstrapperism, do-for-selfism bullshit. You need to just come to us and we just need to all work together. Well, wait a minute. So you just disempowered me, right? You just told me that every effort I make is bullshit. But yet I'm supposed to have enough agency. I'm supposed to have enough left to decide to come join you. And more importantly, I'm supposed to have enough left in the tank after you've disempowered me to not only come join you, but to help lift you up, to help benefit you when you told me that my efforts don't mean shit.
Yeah, and you think about okay, let's even go with the narrative. Look at how let's talk about HR 40 in that narrative.
Right.
The reason why it got talked about is because, okay, HR 40 is something that we can actually get passed. It doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to do shit, but people start talking about it, it's like, oh, okay, this is something that can actually happen. They can actually do this study. And that's why the HR 40 is getting more press than the actual idea of having reparations. They're like, well, we can get HR 40. Why don't we just get that? Now, a lot of folks are happy with that because that's the narrative that's being told.
Exactly. Now, think about this, fam.
That's why HR 40 is getting more press than to us. It's like, that's some bullshit.
You're hitting, but you're hitting close to a reality that I think that we need to understand, not just politically, but across the board, that it comes down ultimately to what story you tell. Having the information is not enough. So when you said, fam, and this is not to slight you, I wanted us to have a little conversation so we can have a meeting of the minds. When you said that it was the agenda and our interests that were going to tie us together, we know now that that's not enough. Right? We know that having the information, right? Because agenda is simply information. Right? So having information, interest is nothing more than more information, right? Stating particular, ideas or goals to reach. But without having a narrative, an overarching narrative that creates the space for community, right? For communal acceptance of those interests, communal acceptance of that agenda. Like, I remember the first time I heard about ADOS 101. I never went on the website until like back in November because I thought I understood what the agenda was. It's our justice claim, right? I didn't think there was anything else that needed to be discussed. But when I first heard about ADOS 101, right, and I went and I read the agenda, there was stuff on it that I liked. There was some stuff on it I didn't necessarily really give a shit about. But the thing that really got my goat about it was that nobody had asked me what should be on that list. And I know what you're thinking. Well, it's about the group, right? It's about operating as a collective. We got to have something to operate from a collective. Okay, I get you. I get that, right? But here's the thing. If I'm a part of the group, I am not going to subsume or lose who I am simply for identification with that group. If it's a choice ultimately between me and that group, the ties that bind me to that group had damn well better be stronger than just an agenda and some interests. That's not enough.
Right.
That's not enough. If you're asking me to sacrifice potentially my resources, my life, my political capital, my ass, whatever, you damn well better have a tie that binds you to me in a way that makes that sacrifice worth it. Because if you lack that tie, fam, you barking up the wrong motherfucking tree no matter how dope of a so-called agenda you got.
No, I agree. Like, yeah, it's definitely the narrative.
It's the story, fam. At the end of the day, we keep trying to make this shit more complicated than it really is. There's a story. The story is that we are a people that descend from the enslaved, and we need to embrace that shit. We need to embrace that whole hog with everything that comes with it, because therein lies our agenda. Therein lies our interest. We don't have to have meetings about what our interests are if we accept that truth. We don't have to have meetings about what the agenda is if we accept that truth. We can still operate with individual agency and still see our communal interests with that truth. And until we do that, everything else we're doing is spinning our wheels. It's just putting off the inevitable.
Right. Yeah, and the narrative is something that once you tell the story, that's going to get the people motivated to come together and build community.
Exactly.
Not just a general interest.
Exactly.
People, you know.
Exactly. If I come and tell you, fam, if I come and tell you there's a big ass party going on tonight, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be hyphy. I know you're gonna want to be there. I bet you'll be motivated to go out there and change that flat on your car.
Right, right.
I bet you you'll be motivated to go out there and change it then.
Yeah, so it's like we have to find ways to motivate our people and make.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. But you can't do that by initiating pogroms against them. You can't do that by consigning 2/3 of them to the outer darkness. You can't do that playing a fucking cancel culture all the time. You can't do that picking up the machetes and pointing them at your own people. The only way you can do that is with grace.
But see, and to speak to, and see, with that behavior, I'll speak to that is because that comes from this. We have to also paint the narrative that that's not the way you do things, because that's the socialization that we have. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's all we know how to do. That's what we've been doing. Cancel this, that, and the way us operates is similar to that in the dominant society. That's just the way we've known how to operate.
How's it working for us, fam?
No, I agree.
That's really the only question that needs to be asked. I'm not disputing what tactics and this, that, and the third that we've used, right? We can argue about the effective, we can argue about those tactics all day. The question ultimately comes down to, is it working? Does it work? Right? See, that's a major problem in a lot of stuff that we do as a people. We love to talk shit up. And as long as there's nobody to contest the validity of the bullshit that we spin, it actually hangs out there in the ethos, in our ethic as a truth, right? There's a lot of bullshit that gets spun around with our people, but because nobody ever asked any questions that forces us to quantify that, to actually measure it, to actually determine whether or not it's efficacious, it's just treated like it's fact. But here's the problem, fam. Life has a way of showing and proving. You can spin bullshit all day, but ultimately somebody's going to call you on that bullshit. They're going to make you show and prove. And then when your bullshit has been weighed, measured, and found wanting, don't get in your feelings. Nobody told you to live by a bullshit ass narrative that could nobody measure, that we didn't check the efficacy of, or whatever the case may be. Nobody told you to do that.
Right.
But see, here's the thing. The best part about this narrative story is that nobody can take it away from us, because it's solid fact. You can't kill who my forebears are, right? They're already not here anymore. Like, they're already my ancestors. You can't kill my ancestors. What are you going to do? Dig them up and re-kill them? They're already gone. So you can't destroy who I came from. You can't, excuse me, fam, you can't wipe away who I came from. Right. So that narrative is a power that they cannot take away from us. They can't co-opt it. They can't steal it from us. They can't take it from us, because it lies beyond their reach. but it's immediately accessible to us. The power inherent in the story of us being the descendants of the enslaved ones is immediately available to us, but their ability to hurt it, to blunt that power, is taken away from them because it's a story. The only way you can destroy a story is to tell a different story, and you have to make that story believable enough to enough people. The problem is we haven't made our story of our lineage first and foremost.
We haven't. It's been more about I'm right and you're wrong. This is the data. That's pretty much what we've done.
Yeah. The most powerful thing, like I said, the most powerful thing Yvette ever said was that claim the name. Fam, you do that. That's the key, the golden key that unlocks the door.
And that's the commonality.
That exactly. You know what I mean? That's the communal.
That's the commonality.
Right. That's the commonality that creates our communal interest, that our communal agenda. Once you claim the name, fam, nobody needs to tell you what the agenda is. The moment I claimed my standing as a child of my ancestors, as the descendant of my forebears, as the survivor of the survivors of the crucible of slavery, the moment I claimed that, nobody needed to tell me how to advocate. Nobody needed to tell me what the agenda was. I didn't need to go to no meeting. My ancestors whisper every day to me what the agenda is.
Right, and it just comes like, because you don't need, it's like, it's not about, well, I got an organization, I got a company, I got a this, I got a that. That stuff, I mean, that's cool, that's fine, but it's not community.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I got a people. I'm not lost.
Yeah.
I got a people. I got a heritage. I got a history. I have a lineage. I don't need shit else. I need you. That's what I need. Facts. Right? The only thing left that Mark Black needs is the tie to you. That's it. I've got the understanding. Once you embrace and claim the name, right? Pick up the narrative. The only thing that's left is to go out and make the ties. Go out and rebuild them, right? Go to your brother and be like, hey, fam, it's been a long time, man. Let me holler at you for a minute. And just sit there and soak it up.
And it's about, like you said, so when you do that, all the other shit kind of doesn't matter. It ain't about Republicans, Democrats, socialists, communists. We don't give a fuck about none of that. It's about our people. That's it.
Exactly.
All these other titles and things and this and that, we don't care.
Hell yeah. They be like, what you over there talking to that gay brother for? Because that's my brother. You don't need to know shit else. What you over there hanging out with them Hebrews for? Because them's my brothers. That's my family. You don't need to know shit else. Instant grace. And the crazy part, fam, is that it's inexhaustible. It cannot ever go away. That's the crazy part. You literally have enough power in you with this narrative, with this story, to embrace 40 million of your brothers, men, women, and children, your tribes people. It's inexhaustible. It doesn't run out. People ask me, brother, how are you not, messed up? How are you not despondent? I can't be, because I have a tie. I have a connection to something that sustains me when I don't have shit else to sustain me. I got a people that need me when I don't have nothing else. I can't.
You're right.
I can't lose that. Like, no way. They could beat me, fam. They could make me say I won't believe it, but they can't make me not believe it. They put Christians in the Colosseum, fed them to lions, set them on fire, and used them as lamps. But the power of their belief, that narrative that they cleaved to, that created a community of believers, was so strong that they fucking sat there smiling as it was going down because they just knew the truth of their circumstances. Whether you believe it was true or not don't mean shit.
Yeah, man, they built a whole damn country around that.
Right, they built the whole world around the story of Christianity.
Right, yeah.
Now think about what we could build in America with our unique heritage, our unique lineage, knowing that every brick that's laid bears a drop of our ancestors' blood in it. Every motherfucking row that's hoed, that's plowed, has our ancestors' bones in it, right? Think about the power that is delivered to each and every last one of us as a people with that narrative. Think about the advocacy. Think about the motivation. Think about the fire. Fam, the data doesn't bring fire. The story brings the fire. Matter of fact, fam, you look again. I hate to keep using Christianity as an example, but a lot of my brothers and sisters is Christians. Peter and the disciples had the data. But until the day of Pentecost, when the fire came down on them, they didn't have power. They had the story. They had the narrative. They walked with the man for 3.5 years or whatever the case may be. They had the story. But until the fire came down, until the narrative was burned into their hearts. I remember a scripture I read in the Bible where God said, I will raise up a people and I will write my law on their hearts and they will be my people and I will be their God. How simple can a thing be, right? A story written on the hearts of the descendants of the enslaved that makes us a people, that creates a community.
Nah, you're right.
Everybody tried to make this shit so complicated, fam.
It's just kind of like, because it's just kind of, we kind of get sidetracked because it's easy. See, what the dominant society's been doing, I won't call it dominant, but white society, they've been good at getting us sidetracked off of other stuff.
Yep.
Like, oh, it ain't about the community, it's about Republicans, Democrats, about communism, socialism, economics, that. It's about everything but our
us.
Community. And they're very, very good at getting us off of that.
Oh yeah.
Because if they're talking about, if they're talking about, well, this person, they get us to call, you're a socialist, you're a communist, and that's why we can't form community. That's why. And I'm like, nah, that's not the problem.
The hell you say? I can form a community with any of my people. I got grace. I got grace enough for all of you, fam. I don't care how you living. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what God you worship or don't worship. I don't care how tall you are, how short you are, how dark you are, how light you are. If you are a member of my lineage, if you and I have forebears forged in the crucible of the plantation, I can do anything with you. I can build anything with you. That's all I need to know. We can beef, we can have disagreements, we can argue, we can be like me and cousin Dodie. Don't matter. Let somebody else run up on us and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what's keeping us, until once we master that, then we can come together. It's very simple for us to come together based on, whatever, because a lot of times I see people on, and maybe, Twitter isn't representative of, the real world all the time, but you see people arguing over dumb shit. And I'm just like, you canceling your brother. Like, you canceling your family.
How you gonna tell a black person, first of all, how you gonna tell a black person to tell their grandma, who most of us, because if you're Generation X or older, most of us were actually kind of raised by our grandmothers, quiet as is kept, right? So how you gonna tell a group of black folk that their grandparents is enemies of the people? Make that shit make sense, fam.
Yeah, I seen that. I was like, huh?
Like, what?
It just blew my mind.
Like, niggas, you crazy? That's my grandma, man. Like, that motherfucker fed me. You dig? Like, she raised me. Are you stoned? That right there, that type of shit lets me know, fam, that the power inherent in the ADOS message hasn't really been tapped. Not by the leadership of it, not by its adherents, because the most important thing that was said was the one thing that everybody glossed over, with the exception of a few. with the exception of a few who said, wait a minute, claim the name. What does that mean? And they started going back in their genetic memory, traipsing back down memory lane, taking their minds, their hearts, their souls back to the plantation with their ancestors, feeling the lash, feeling the hot sun, feeling the bowls, the cotton bowls, cutting their fingers during the harvest. Fam, you can't tell me not to advocate for Black people, not with the voice of my ancestors whispering in my ear constantly like it does. You can't tell me not to advocate for you. You can't tell me not to grab you and hug you and show you grace. You can't tell me not to do it. I don't know how not to do it at this point.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Yeah, it's facts. You're right, man. It's just how, Super Tuesday really taught us a lot, and it's good to learn. And, we'll use that lesson to form community.
That's right, Pam. And, trust me when I tell you, we are going to form community. I told you that today's broadcast is prelude to a path we're going to walk down. We're not going to, remember, we're here as Angry Black Sheep. We're not oriented on problems. We're oriented on solutions. We're not going to just talk about the fact that we lack community. No, we are going to start to build community. And humbly, I'm going to try my best to show us how.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I'm gonna let you get to it, man. Listen to some more of the show.
I appreciate you, fam. As always, thank you so much for your contribution, fam. Peace.
Yeah, man. Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
Peace, brother. Peace.
Shit, keep it going.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one.
You
Peace,
too.
Family.
Peace. Caller from 301 is your man, Mark Black. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
What's happening, my brother?
Brother Richard, the elder, how are you, sir? Good to hear from you. Talk to us, fam. Share your wisdom. What do you think about what I had to say today about the difference between a collective and community, about the power inherent in community?
Hey, peace, my brother. Peace, my brother, Mark Black. Peace, my brother.
Peace, brother. Peace.
Brother, you deep tonight. You so deep. I had to go get a shovel to try and try and dig some of this up. But I don't mean to be all over the place. But I hope we can come to some type of understanding, some type of agreement, because you really on point tonight. Okay, what I would like to emphasize is I wish you would, I hope and I wish you would start writing this down, this process of how we build a community, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm going to take that as an order. I'm going to take that as an order from my elder brother, and I'm going to do that. Trust me.
Dealing with this process of how we build a community, some of the pitfalls, like, I know you have read, I call him Frantz Fanon, but I know you have read Frantz Fanon or Frantz Fanon.
Yeah, I've read Frantz Fanon. Yep, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed is an amazing book.
Yeah, I know you read him, and I know you're familiar with Ho Chi Minh and Mao, and also, but I might be a little all over the place tonight. But we're talking about, okay, if you live in Kansas, if you from Kansas City and you're going to St. Louis, or say you're in Washington and you want to go home to Kansas City,
mm-hmm.
Okay. When I was going my first year taking English in college and so forth, the professor said, "Well, you gotta set out a plan, or you gotta build a roadmap to get to where you're going. In other words, where we're at now and where we want to go, we got to build a roadmap, or we got to build a plan. We got to structure this and build a plan, okay?"
Now, Brother Richard, let me ask you a quick question, if I may. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I just have a quick question. Would you agree with me when I say that the vast majority of us don't even know yet where we are? Because I agree with you. In order to get somewhere, you do have to create a map, right? You have to know the territory. You have to develop a map, and know how to get there. Yeah. But I don't think the problem for us is so much that we don't create maps and this, that, and the third. I believe that the problem for the most part is we don't even know where we are yet. Why do you think there's so many people chasing after different things?
We haven't built that foundation. Okay?
Right.
When you start structuring a house, you have to build. If the house gonna be a good house, you got to build a strong foundation, right?
Yes, sir.
We haven't built that foundation yet. But like you said, when we identify our identification, okay, our identification is one of the fundamental things that we have to embrace. That we are descendants of the enslaved. Okay,
yep.
We have to embrace that. That's like building a foundation. Once we're able to embrace that, we're able to do like the Christians are able to indoctrinate or whatsoever. Or to when we embrace our ancestors in slavery, we're able to invoke their spirit into us. It becomes a part of us. It becomes a part of our DNA. You know, I was able to. When I began to tune into ADOS, it just motivated me to want to know about my enslaved ancestors. So I was able to go back 5 generations and find on my mother's side 5 generations and finally touch my great grandmother and grandfather that were enslaved in Memphis, Tennessee. And that has been a power.
Shout out to the ancestors.
I'm able to invoke that spirit into minds, you know, like when you're praying or you're meditating, really when you're praying and meditating, it can be powerful if you're able to invoke certain spirits into your spirit.
That's right.
It's not that's really what you're doing.
That's exactly what you're doing, fam. Brother Richard, you hit it. You hit it right on the barrelhead, fam. When you claim the name, you gain the right to invoke their narrative, right? See, here's the thing. The power of our justice claim, and I'm certain you'll agree with this, the power of our justice claim doesn't derive from justice. America's made it clear it has no interest in justice. The power of our justice claim is that when we make that claim, invoking the names of our ancestors, invoking them, giving them second life, it is not us making the demand. It is not us making the claim. Our ancestors return and make the claim. They live again.
Yes, they do. Yeah, we're not alone. We're not in this struggle alone. We're able to invoke this spirit. We're not in this struggle alone. And that's powerful. Some people don't realize how powerful it is. It causes you to walk a certain way. It causes you to talk a certain way. It causes you to feel a certain way. It causes you to be a certain way when you're able to do that.
Absolutely.
It just changed the whole aura around you, your whole environment and stuff like that. It's just another high level of esteem and consciousness that you're able to invoke into your spirit. But as Dr. King, you know, we should feel proud. We should be able to wholeheartedly try to empathize with what our ancestors went through. See what has happened. What are some of the distractions that have happened to us? Is some of when divorce and when divorce was first starting out, he tried to identify with Pan-Africanism. Okay, Pan-Africanism can come later. It can come later, but right now, building this house right now, the foundation wouldn't be to include Pan-Africanism.
That's
right. You can include it later. You can include it later, you know, and so forth. We have as a people in the 60s when we were coming up, it was identifying with Africa. You know, it was African dashikis, African kufus, African attire, and so forth, identifying with our African heritage. But we skipped over our ancestors in slavery.
Thank you.
You know, we skipped We skipped. We just totally dismissed them. We didn't want to have anything to do with them. We didn't want to identify with them. We were ashamed of them. Didn't have no pride in them. We didn't embrace what we had no empathy for them. We done skipped all over them and went to Africa and everything. That's, Garvey came back Garvey came here, he played a role in unifying, but that Back to Africa movement, that was just like saying, let's skip over your ancestors.
That don't make no sense. That's like trying to power a computer by plugging the power socket into an aquarium.
Right.
How your computer supposed to work and you ain't plugged it into no power? How are we supposed to press home this justice claim when the very thing that gives our justice claim the power that it has is our lineage? It's our connection to our forebears.
Yes, it is. It's powerful. That's powerful. You just can't get around it. When the Black Caucus went over that to Africa and so forth, that's a distraction. We should have. Once we become a community, as you said, we will have the power to dismiss that and to dismiss them when they trying to go over there and put all the emphasis on going back to, let's go back and reclaim this. No,
I'm good.
You trying to skip. You trying to forget about your ancestors who picked that cotton, picked that tobacco, worked on the docks and so forth. If it wasn't for them going through what they went through, how do you think you got here? How do you think that you made it to where you are now? If they hadn't tolerated and went through it, it was hard for some of them. It had to be hard. It had to be.
It was hell, fam. It was the crucible. It was the crucible. Our ancestors went through literal hell. And here we are acting like we don't know them and wondering why we so powerless.
Yeah, we're powerless. We done totally dismissed them. We done totally dismissed them in the 60s and so forth. We want to totally dismiss them now and so forth. But
that don't make no sense.
It doesn't make no sense. But one of the I guess one of the powerful things that Eldridge Cleaver said, which Eldridge Cleaver was wild and everything, but one of the powerful things he said was that the spirit of the people is greater than man's technology. Once we can develop that spirituality, or we can develop that lineage connection, that's greater than man's technology.
It is.
I'm not going, but I just hope that you will begin to structure this. We're going to build this house. You put down, how we're going to set the foundation.
Yes, sir.
And what the focus and the attention should be. Like Dr. King said, we have nothing to be ashamed of. You don't have to be ashamed of what your ancestors went through. Embrace it.
Damn right.
Embrace
damn right.
it. Empathize
once
with
we
it.
embrace this spiritual technology, like Alexis calls it, like I call it, once you embrace this spiritual technology, right, this psychology of invoking the power inherent in your heritage, in your lineage. Think about this, right? Everybody talk, Brother Elder, you're familiar with Richard Spencer, right? Richard Spencer, the white supremacist. That cat that was on Roland Martin's show, right?
Yeah, I think Roland Martin interviewed him once.
Yeah, he did, right? You remember Richard Spencer said that his culture and his lineage gives him the power to tell the uncomfortable truths that he wants to tell, to tell the truth of his right to power, right?
Right.
Well, if that shit will work for Richard Spencer, why wouldn't it work for us? Well, who the fuck is Richard Spencer that he's so great that he can cleave to his heritage, to his lineage, to his identification and get power from it, but somehow or another it won't work for us?
Yeah, that's the miseducation.
You damn right.
Of Adolf. That's the miseducation.
That's the miseducation
of Adolf,
right there, fam. The fact that white folks is doing something that won't work for us.
Right, but when Ho Chi Minh tried tried to negotiate with the French and so forth, you know, he realized that he was coming from a foundation of strength because he realized he had his people behind him. He said, well, since y'all won't compromise and y'all won't give, he said that leaves us no alternative but to fight, you know. So look, he realized.
I keep telling people, don't classify this shit as a war unless you gonna fight it.
Yeah.
Because people talk a real good game, but trust me, if politics is war, and I argue that it is, all politics is war with paper bullets, then just like in any war, there's no option you leave lying on the planning table. There's no weapon you leave rusting in the rear. You bring all your weapons, all of your arsenal to the forefront, and you deliver every bit of ordnance you got, on your enemies.
It's one other point. Then I'm gonna let somebody else come in. One thing I was thinking about when you was talking about community and everything, when our ADOS brothers and sisters are incarcerated, they realize that they are to come out of that prison, that they have to become a part of a community. If you don't become a part of a community, you try to go in there and be an individual, they're going to make you this, they're going to make you that. This gang and that gang is going to pull. That's one thing that may be positive that may come out of, you know, come from being incarcerated, that you realize that if you don't become a part of a community or you don't develop communalism, you liable not to make it home.
Out.
Yeah, you're liable not to come out. You know, that's a heck of an example. And
no, it's not, because it's the perfect example. If you listen to Neely Fuller calls us prisoners, right? And so like prisoners within the confines of a prison, we have to find communal ways of being able to look out for our interests. The guards ain't. The warden ain't. Right? The governor ain't. So if they're antithetical to our interests, the only way our interests are ever going to be served is if we find a way to come together in our common interests, our common political, social, economic interests, and fight for it. We really, literally are all we got.
Yes, that's the truth. You know, when I had talked with you, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, what I was trying to emphasize, just to get a count of how many people were ADOS, I thought that it would be a good strategy during the primary season if you could go to the ballot box and write in ADOS or Foundation Black America, whatever you want. We would have some idea of the strength of our numbers, you know. So we're going to have to do some accounting eventually, because it's very important, you know. I pray that if we can get 1 million people behind the wind behind us, 1 million people, then I think we can begin to move, you know.
I agree with you. But it's going to have to be 1 million people empowered. We're not going to get anybody telling a narrative that tells them that their power, everything they try to do for themselves, everything that they try to hold to, and so on and so forth is bullshit. We ain't going to get nobody that way. Or I should say, we're not going to get anybody strong that way. We'll have a gathering of weak individuals that as soon as the fire comes, they're going to scatter like roaches.
Yeah. We've got the inner oppressed people have always had to go to the intro, you know, the intro conflict and the intro struggle, you know. So
no, that's not necessarily true. And I'm gonna tell you why that's not necessarily true. The reason why that we've seen throughout history people do that is because they have not figured out another way. They have not figured out a different way. See, one of the reasons why we learn history, Brother Richard, and I know you know this, I'm not telling you this, brother. I'm just elaborating for the family. One of the reasons why we learn history is so that we can correct the mistakes of history. We don't have to follow history as if it's a roadmap. We use it as a blueprint of sorts, just like when you get a blueprint from an architect. They make modifications to blueprints all the time as the needs of the building and stuff like that changes. Now you have your baseline format, right? You have your baseline of how the building's going to go up, but there may need to be an elevator shaft put here, or there may need to be reinforcing girders put here, right? We have to be willing to look at history sort of as a blueprint, but we have to feel comfortable enough. We have to feel bold and brave enough to make modifications to that blueprint as needed to account for our current circumstances. Otherwise, we repeat the same mistakes of the past. And one of those mistakes of the past, brother, is that we lost patience. And we simply started exercising warfare against our own people. I don't think that that's necessary. I think that there's a different way. And I intend to explore how we can still get where we need to go without needing to do that. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I follow you. Nothing is really etched in stone. It's, it's not, nothing is truly definite until it's truly worked out. Until it's definite,
right. Until it's built, everything is fluid.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
Everything is fluid.
Everything is fluid.
Everything is. Yeah, I get you, my brother. I just pray that you will go on and start putting this blueprint or putting this process down, and I wish you good luck.
I thank you, brother. And I appreciate
it. And it's been powerful. You're on a powerful message tonight, so keep it up.
I will,
keep
brother.
It up. I think when you get on something like this, it would be ideal to do, part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, cause
trust me, I'm not done. This broadcast
one time it is
set. This broadcast, Brother Richard, is the prelude. This is going to be, I consider this a segue. I'm not going to not talk about politics, but I'm backing up off of politics for a minute because we need to get to some foundational principles.
Yeah.
And the most foundational principle we need to access right now is community. We needed this broadcast. This broadcast was basically to set the definitions for the conversation that I'm framing moving forward, because we will go more in depth on these broadcasts moving forward on how to create community, on what specifically community looks like, how we foster those ties that bind. Don't worry, brother, I'm nowhere near done.
Okay, I appreciate that, my brother. And I keep in tune, and power to you and power to the people.
Yes, sir.
And just keep up the good work.
I will, brother. Thank you so much for your blessing and your esteem. I appreciate you. Peace. Fam, great call. Yeah, the brother's right. Fam, you get tired, you get weary, right? You get despondent. I remember listening to old Negro spirituals, and there were times when our ancestors would be out there in them fields, and it's in the middle of harvest, and they've been working their fingers to the bone for weeks on end on some of these plantations, and they were weary unto death, right? But they would sing and they would say, we so tired and it's so hard, but I got a spirit in me that won't let me rest, that won't let me flag, that won't let me go, right? That same spirit that our ancestors accessed through the remembrance of the ones that came before them, we have access to that same energy today, fam. Real talk. We have access to that same energy today. Community is within our grasp, but we have to make the choice. Do we want to continue to operate as a roughly defined, externally numerated collective? Or are we ready for community? Are we ready to tell the story, to connect with the story that will bring us community, that will help us give birth to community? All right? So fam, with that, we coming up on the 2-hour mark, and I know that it's Saturday and y'all want to go and kick it. I appreciate it, right? Alexa said white people have their ancestors in them too. That's right. And so today is a battle between their ancestors and ours. And it's time that they had that out. Don't you think it's time our ancestors finally got to hold these buckward to a reckoning? They can through us. Let Richard Spencer identify with whoever the fuck he wants. Me, I identify with my forebears. the enslaved ones. And let's see who's got the strength, who's got the real creativity. Let's see who really built shit, huh? Let him identify with whoever the fuck he want. Let them march with their little bullshit ass tiki torches talking about you will not replace us and this, that, and the third. Let them. I'm not afraid of them. My ancestors didn't birth me to give me a spirit of fucking fear. I don't have to fear no man. I'm a descendant of the baddest motherfuckers that ever walked the soil of America. So let them identify with whoever the hell they want. They want to identify with Hitler, let them. They want to identify with this racist and that racist, let them. I don't care. It's been long past time that our ancestors and their ancestors get to have a reckoning anyway. It's been long past time for us to get down with the get down. What y'all say? Y'all agree with Brother Black? Y'all agree with Brother Black? Don't y'all think it's time our ancestors had their day? Right? Don't y'all think it's time for our ancestors to finally have a mouth that speaks for them, feet that march and walk for them, fists that fight for them, minds that think for them, to give birth, to produce justice, finally? You goddamn right. As the woke people say, ashe, amen. It shall be done, so mote it be. Whatever little phrase you need to say, this will be done, say it. Because I'm telling you, fam, once we adhere to each other, we cleave to this story, to our lineage and our heritage, and boy, it is going to be a reckoning unlike this country has ever seen. And at the end of the ruckus, we will have our due. I promise you we will have our due, because our ancestors will not let us flag. Our ancestors will not let us waver. They didn't bring us this far to leave us on the far shore. They didn't give birth to us to see us fail. I'm not even fucking trying to hear that. I don't even hear failure. I don't even hear I need to fight with my brother and sister. I don't even need to hear that my tribesman is my enemy. I don't even see it. I can't even understand it. Does not compute. We're going to have arguments. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have times when we don't get along, but you know what? You with me. That's all I need to know. Collective or community? It's time to pick. I know what side I'm on. I know what path I'm walking. I hope after today you start to consider strongly, fam, my fellow angry black sheep. I hope you start to consider strongly what choice you're ready to make moving forward. I know I'm tired of every external group out here just telling me that I'm just one of a bunch of flat Negroes when I know better. I'm a member of a proud and hallowed lineage of sacred souls who, through blood, pain, and fire, gave birth to a mighty nation that I intend to claim as my motherfucking birthright. How about you? How about you? Fam, as always, I just want to say I love you. I appreciate you. I need you. You are all that I got. And I'm all that you got, whether you believe that or not. Brothers, I issued this on Twitter, but I'm making it clear on my channel. Brothers, if you are a younger brother or older brother or whatever, and you looking for a peer or a mentor to work with, to talk to interact with, to build with, get at me. blackoutcastmedia@gmail.com. And that's an open-ended invite. Each one of us has to reach one of us. I'm doing my part. I'm not rich. but maybe I can help you to avoid a pitfall or get out of a trap or just see shit for, from a different perspective. You know what I'm saying? I love y'all, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, the day you wake up and you realize who you are, where you are, when you realize that the start of this map is right here, claiming your lineage, claiming your heritage, the power that will be accessible to you from that moment on is beyond measure. It's beyond measure. And I'm going to be right there with you. Every step of the way, even after my last breath, I'm still going to be with you. Because then I'll be an ancestor. And you already know where the hell I stand. You don't need to wait to hear my voice. You already know where your brother Mark Black stand. Let me die today. Bury the man and continue to plan. So fam, as always, I want to thank all of you. How many did we have watching? Looks like I got 35. I appreciate Engaging Black and Sister Sherry for the super chats. And Sister Toolbox, I appreciate you as well, right? Fam, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for being the living evidence of why I fight. You're all the data I really need. I didn't need, the other stuff. It helps, right? To know the wealth gap data and all that other stuff. It helps. It helps remind me. It's a feedback loop. I get more data, which reinforces my need to be an advocate, which gets me access to more data, which reinforces my need to advocate. But fam, my initial need to advocate didn't come from no data. It came from cleaving to my ancestors' story. Let's do this. You ain't got nothing else better to do than to fight with me. You don't have to agree with me on everything. Unity does not require unanimity, but it does require community. It requires that my interests are your interests. I love you, fam. Until the next time, Wednesday it should be. Until the next time, I'm going to leave you all, as I do always, with wishes of love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.